Shabbat Shalom. This week's Torah portion, this week's portion is going to be a little shorter than usual because most of the week was Passover and leavened bread, all of the feast days, and there's special readings that kind of repeat themselves. So I'm not going to go back and do all of that. But this is, it's called Shmini, and it is the, means the 8th. So we are currently in the counting of the Omer, and we're on day 7. So if you're counting, count along with us. And I'm anxious. I love Shavuot. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful time. But then again, I'm kind of partial. I like all of the feast days, so I don't really have a favorite. But let's go ahead and do our reading. We're going to be in Leviticus chapter 9, starting in verse 1, and we're going to go through the end of chapter 11, and that's going to be on page 112. And then 2 Samuel 6, verse 1, going through 7, verse 17. That's on page 321. And then Acts chapter 5, verses 1 through 11. And that is on page 1056. So let's go ahead and start in Leviticus in chapter 9, verse 1 on page 112. And on the 8th day it came to be that Moshe called Aharon and his sons and the elders of Israel. And he said to Aharon, "Take for yourself a young bull as a sin offering, and a ram as an ascending offering, a perfect one, and bring them before Yahweh. And speak to the children of Israel, saying, Take a male goat as a sin offering, and a calf and a lamb, both a year old, perfect ones as an ascending offering, and a bull and a ram as peace offerings to slaughter before Yahweh, and a grain offering mixed with oil, for today Yahweh shall appear to you." And they took what Moshe commanded before the tent of appointment, and all the congregation drew near and stood before Yahweh. And Moshe said, "This is the word which Yahweh commanded you to do, so that the esteem of Yahweh appears to you." And Moshe said to Aharon, "Go to the slaughter place and prepare your sin offering and your ascending offering, and make atonement for yourself and for the people, and make the offering of the people, and make atonement for them, as Yahweh has commanded." So Aharon came near to the slaughter place and slew the calf as the sin offering, which was for himself. And the sons of Aharon brought the blood to him, and he dipped his finger in the blood and put it on the horns of the slaughter place, and poured the blood at the base of the slaughter place. And the fat and the kidneys and the appendage on the liver and of the sin offering he burned on the slaughter place, as Yahweh had commanded Moshe. And the flesh and the skin he burned with fire outside the camp. And he slew the ascending offering, and the sons of Aharon presented to him the blood, which he sprinkled on the slaughter place all around. And they presented the ascending offering to him, with its pieces and head, and he burned them on the slaughter place. And he washed the entrails and the legs, and burned them with the ascending offering on the slaughter place. And he brought the people's offerings, and took the goat, which was the sin offering for the people. And he slew it, and made it a sin offering, like the first one. And he brought the ascending offering, and made it according to the right ruling. And he brought the grain offering, and filled his hands with it, and burned it on the slaughter place, beside the ascending offering of the morning. And he slew the bull and the ram as a slaughtering of peace offerings, which were for the people. And Aharon's sons presented him with the blood, which he sprinkled on the slaughter place all around, and the fat from the bull and the ram, and the fat tail, and the covering, and the kidneys, and the appendage on the liver. And they placed the fat on the breasts, and he burned the fat on the slaughter place. But the breasts and the right thigh Aharon waved as a wave offering before Yahweh, as Moshe had commanded. Aharon then lifted up his hand toward the people and blessed them, and came down from making the sin offering and the ascending offering and the peace offerings. And Moshe and Aharon went into the tent of appointment, and came out and blessed the people. And the esteem of Yahweh appeared to all the people. And fire came out from before Yahweh, and consumed the ascending offering and the fat on the slaughter place. And all the people saw, and cried aloud, and fell on their faces. And Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aharon, each took his fire holder, and put fire in it, and put incense on it, and brought strange fire before Yahweh, which he had not commanded them. And fire came out from Yahweh and consumed them, and they died before Yahweh. And Moshe said to Aharon, "This is what Yahweh spoke, saying, by those who come near me, let me be set apart, and before all the people, let me be esteemed." And Aharon was silent. And Moshe called to Mishael and to Eltzapah, the sons of Uziel, the uncle of Aharon, and said to them, "Come near, take your brothers from before the set-apart place out of the camp." So they came near and took them by their long shirts out of the camp, as Moshe had said. And Moshe said to Aharon and to Eleazar and to Ithamar his sons, "Do not unbind your head, nor tear your garments, lest you die, and wrath come upon all the people. But let your brothers, all the house of Israel, bewail the burning which Yahweh has kindled. And do not go out from the door of the tent of appointment, lest you die. For the anointing oil of Yahweh is upon you." And they did according to the words of Moshe. And Yahweh spoke to Aharon, saying, "Do not drink wine or strong drink, you nor your sons with you, when you go into the tent of appointment, lest you die, a law forever throughout your generations, so as to make a distinction between the set apart and the profane, and between the unclean and the clean, and to teach the children of Israel all the laws which Yahweh has spoken to them by the hand of Moshe." And Moshe spoke to Aharon and to Eleazar and Ithamar, his sons who were left, "Take the grain offering that is left over from the offerings made by fire to Yahweh, and eat it without leaven, beside the slaughter place, for it is most set apart. And you shall eat it in a set-apart place, because it is yours by law, and your sons by law, of the offerings made by fire to Yahweh, for so I have been commanded. And the breasts of the wave offering and the thigh of the contribution you eat in a clean place, you and your sons and your daughters with you, for they are yours by law, and your sons by law, which are given from the slaughterings of peace offerings of the children of Israel. The thigh of the contribution and the breast of the wave offering they bring with the offerings of fat made by fire, to bring as a wave offering before Yahweh. And it shall be yours and your sons with you by a law forever, as Yahweh has commanded. And Moshe diligently looked for the goat of the sin offering, and saw it was burned up. And he was wroth with Eleazar and Ithamar, the sons of Aharon, who were left, saying, "Why have you not eaten the sin offering in a set-apart place, since it is most set apart, and Elohim has given it to you to bear the crookedness of the congregation, to make atonement for them between Yahweh, or before Yahweh. See, its blood was not brought inside the set-apart place. You should have eaten it without fail in a set-apart place, as I have commanded. And Aharon said to Moshe, See, today they have brought their sin offering and their ascend offering and their ascending offerings before Yahweh, and matters like these have come to me. If I had eaten the sin offering today, would it have been right in the eyes of Yahweh? And when Moshe heard that, it was good in his eyes. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe and to Aharon, saying to them, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, These are the living creatures which you do eat among the beasts that are on the earth. Whatever has a split hoof, completely divided, chewing the cud among the beasts, that you do eat. Only these you do not eat, among those that chew the cud, or those that have a split hoof, the camel, because it chews the cud, but does not have a split hoof, it is unclean to you. And the rabbit, because it chews the cud, but it does not have a split hoof, it is unclean to you. And the hare, because it chews the cud, but does not have a split hoof, it is unclean to you. And the pig, though it has a split hoof, completely divided, yet does not chew cud, it is unclean to you. Their flesh you do not eat, and their carcasses you do not touch. They are unclean to you. These you do eat of all that are in the waters. Anyone that has fins and scales in the water, in the seas or in the river, that you do eat. But all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, all that move in the water, or any living being which is in the waters, they are an abomination to you. They are an abomination to you. Of their flesh you do not eat, and their carcasses you abominate. All that have not fins or scales in the water are an abomination to you. And these you do abominate among the birds. They are not eaten. They are an abomination. The eagle and the vulture and the black vulture and the hawk and the falcon after its kind, every raven after its kind, and the ostrich and the nighthawk and the seagull and the hawk after its kind, and the little owl and the fisher owl and the great owl and the white owl and the pelican and the carrion vulture and the stork, the heron after its kind, and the hopi and the bat. All flying insects that creep on all fours is an abomination to you. Only these you do eat of every flying insect that creeps on all fours. Those which have joined legs above their feet, with which they leap on the earth. These of them you do eat. The Arba locust after its kind, and the Solam locust after its kind, and the Hargol locust after its kind, and the Hagab locust after its kind. And all other flying insects which have 4 feet are an abomination to you. And by these you are made unclean. Anyone touching the carcass of any of them is unclean until evening. And anyone picking up part of the carcass of any of them has to wash his garments and shall be unclean until evening. Every beast that has a split hoof not completely divided, or does not chew the cud, is unclean to you. Anyone who touches their carcass is unclean. and whatever goes on its paws among all the creatures that go on all four, those are unclean to you. Anyone who touches their carcass is unclean until evening, and he who picks up their carcass has to wash his garments and shall be unclean until evening. They are unclean to you. And these are unclean to you among the creeping creatures that creep on the earth, the mole and the mouse, and the tortoise after its kind, and the gecko, and the land crocodile, and the sand reptile, and the sand lizard, and the chameleon. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Anyone who touches them when they are dead becomes unclean until evening. And whatever any of them in is dead, state falls upon. I'm going to repeat that. And whatever any of them in its dead state falls upon becomes unclean, whether it is any wooden object or garment or skin or sack. Any object in which work is done, it is put in water, and it shall be unclean until evening. Then it shall be clean. Any earthen vessel into which any of them falls, whatever is in it becomes unclean, and you break it. Any of the food which might be eaten, on which water comes, becomes unclean, and any drink that might be drunk from it becomes unclean. And on whatever any of their carcasses falls becomes unclean, an oven or cooking range. It is broken down. They are unclean and are unclean to you. But a fountain or a well, a collection of water, is clean, but whatever touches their carcass is unclean. And when any of their carcasses fall on any planting seed which is to be sown, it is clean. But when any water is put on the seed, and any part of any such carcass falls on it, it is unclean to you. And when any of the beasts which are yours for food dies, he who touches its carcass becomes unclean until evening. And he who eats of its carcass has to wash his garments, and shall be unclean until evening. And he who picks up its carcass has to wash his garments, and shall be unclean until evening. And every swarming creature, the one that swarms on the earth, is an abomination. It is not eaten. Whatever crawls on its stomach, and whatever goes on all fours, and whatever has many feet among all swarming creatures, the ones swarming on the earth, those you do not eat, for they are an abomination. Do not make yourselves abominable with any swarming creature, the one swarming, and do not make yourselves unclean with them, lest you be defiled by them. For I am Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall set yourselves apart, and you shall be set apart, for I am set apart. And do not defile yourselves with any swarming creatures, the ones creeping on the earth, for I am Yahweh, who is bringing you up out of the land of Mitzrayim to be your Elohim, and you shall be set apart, for I am set apart. This is the Torah of the beasts and the birds and every living being, the creeping creatures of the water, and of every being that swarms on the earth, to make a distinction between the unclean and the clean, and between the living creature that is eaten and the living creature that is not eaten. And we're going to move on to 2 Samuel chapter 6, verse 1. That's going to start on page 321. And we're going to read through chapter 7, verse 17. Now David again gathered all the chosen men of Israel, 30,000. And David rose up and went with all the people who were with him from Baal Yehuda to bring up from there the ark of Elohim, that is called by the name Yahweh of hosts, who dwells between the cherubim. And they placed the ark of Elohim on a new wagon and brought it from the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill. And Uzzah and Hoyo, sons of Abinadab, were leading the new wagon. And they brought it from the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill, with the ark of Elohim. And Ahoyo was walking before the ark. And David and all the house of Israel were dancing before Yahweh with all instruments of fir wood, and with lyres, and with harps, and with tambourines, and with sistrums, and with cymbals. And when they came to the threshing floor of Nikon, Uzzah reached out toward the ark of Elohim and took hold of it, for the oxen stumbled. And the wrath of Yahweh burned against Uzzah, and Elohim struck him there for the fault, and he died there by the ark of Elohim. And David was displeased because Yahweh had broken out against Uzzah, and he called the name of the place Peretz Uzzah until this day. And David was afraid of Yahweh on that day and said, "How shall the ark of Yahweh come to me?" And David would not move the ark of Yahweh with him into the city of David. But David turned it aside to the house of Obed-Edom, the Gittite. And the ark of Yahweh remained in the house of Obed-Edom, the Gittite, 3 new moons. And Yahweh blessed Obed-Edom and all his house. And it was reported to sovereign David, saying, "Yahweh has blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all that he has, because the ark of Elohim." David then went and brought up the ark of Elohim from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of David with rejoicing. And it came to be, when those bearing the ark of Yahweh had gone 6 steps, that he slaughtered bulls and fatted sheep. And David danced before Yahweh with all his might. And David was wearing a linen shoulder garment. Thus David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of Yahweh with shouting and with the voice of a shofar. And it came to be, when the ark of Yahweh came into the city of David, that Michal, daughter of Shaul, looked through the window and saw sovereign David leaping and dancing before Yahweh, and she despised him in her heart. So they brought the ark of Yahweh in and set it in its place in the midst of the tent of David, that David had pitched for it. And David brought ascending offerings before Yahweh and peace offerings. And when David had finished bringing ascending offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of Yahweh of hosts. And he appointed to all the people, to all the crowds of Israel, from man even to woman, to each one a loaf of bread, and a measure and a cake of raisins. And all the people left, each one to his house. And David returned to bless his house. And Michal, the daughter of Shaul, came out to meet David and said, "How esteemed was the sovereign of Israel today, uncovering himself today in the eyes of the female servants of his servants, as one of the foolish ones shamelessly uncovered himself." So David said to Michal, "Before Yahweh, who chose me instead of your father, and all his house commanded me to be the ruler over the people of Yahweh, over Israel, so I danced before Yahweh. And I shall be even more slight than this, and shall be humbled in my own eyes. But as for the female servants of whom you have spoken, by them I am esteemed." And Michal, the daughter of Shaul, had no children to the day of her death. And it came to be, when the sovereign was dwelling in the house, and Yahweh had given him rest from all his enemies all around, that the sovereign said to Nathan the prophet, "See, now I am dwelling in a house of cedar, but the ark of Elohim dwells within curtains." And Nathan said to the sovereign, "Go, do all that is in your heart, for Yahweh is with you." And it came to be that night that the word of Yahweh came to Nathan, saying, "Go and say to my servant David, thus says Yahweh, would you build a house for me to dwell in? For I have not dwelt in a house since the time that I brought the children of Israel up from Mitzrayim, even to this day, but have moved about in a tent and in a dwelling place. Wherever I have walked with all the children of Israel, have I ever spoken a word to any one of the tribes of Israel, whom I commanded to shepherd my people Israel, saying, why have you not built me a house of cedar? And now say to my servant David, thus says Yahweh of hosts, I took you from the pasture, from following the flock, to be ruler over my people, over Israel. And I have been with you wherever you have gone, and have cut off all your enemies from before you, and have made you a great name, like the name of the great ones who are on the earth. And I shall appoint a place for my people Israel, and shall plant them, and they shall dwell in a place of their own, and no longer be afraid. Neither shall the children of wickedness oppress them again, as at the first, even from the day I commanded rulers over my people Israel, and have caused you to rest from all your enemies. And Yahweh has declared to you that he would make you a house. When your days are filled and you rest with your fathers, I shall raise up your seed after you, who comes from your inward parts, and shall establish his reign. He does build a house for my name, and I shall establish the throne of his reign forever. I am to be the father, and he is my son. If he does perversely, I shall reprove him with the rod of men and with the blowers of the sons of men. But my loving commitment does not turn aside from him, as I turned it aside from Shaul, whom I removed from before you. And your house and your reign are to be steadfast forever before you. Your throne is established forever. According to all these words, and according to all this vision, so Nathan spoke to David. And we're going to move on to Acts chapter 5, starting in verse 1 and going to verse 11. It's on page 1056 in the scripture. But a certain man named Hananiah, with Sapphira his wife, sold a possession, and he kept back from the price, his wife also being aware of it, and brought a certain part and laid it at the feet of the emissaries. But Kepha said, Hananiah, why has Satan filled your heart to lie into the set-apart spirit and keep back from the price of the land for yourself? While it remained, did it not remain your own? And after it was sold, was it not in your authority? Why have you conceived this deed in your heart? You have not lied to men, but to Elohim. Then Hananiah, hearing these words, fell down and breathed his last. And great fear came upon all those who heard of this. But the young men arose and wrapped him up, carried him out, and buried him. And it came to be about 3 hours later that his wife came in, not knowing what had taken place. And Kepha responded to her, "Say to me whether you sold the land for so much." And she said, "Yes, for so much." So Kepha said to her, "Why have you agreed to try the Spirit of Yahweh? Look, the feet of those who have buried your husband are at the door, and they shall carry you out." And immediately she fell down at his feet and breathed her last. And the young men came in and found her dead and carried her out. And they buried her beside her husband. And great fear came upon all the assembly and all who heard of this. And that is our Torah portion for this week. I pray you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. And I just ask that you just draw closer to the Father. In this time of the counting of the Omer, it's a time of anticipation. I mean, we know Shavuot from the New Testament as the day of Pentecost, the day that Yah's Spirit came upon the earth. And just the anticipation of knowing that that's coming should just be so exciting. And just use this time to draw closer to Him and dig in His Word. Know Him. He has absolutely wonderful, wonderful things for you. And He wants so much to bless you. But He can't do that if you're not obedient. Strive for obedience. Shabbat Shalom.